One, is this a case where another vile usage of the vacuous term love jihad can be plugged? The question to be asked is, how badly was she suffering? Did she turn to someone for help? Does this exceedingly competitive industry even offer help? All of 20, remember? Does it not pain anyone enough to ask why did no one bother to offer her that solace, that shield, that comforting shoulder? Why is that atmosphere missing in the Indian television industry? Why are we so busy playing warriors to death, scouting the now dead Tunisha's social media feed and act as body language experts to dissect if she was looking happy or sad getting her makeup done on the day she allegedly chose to die? Ask yourself that.
पहले किसी लड़की के साथ इन्वॉल्वमेंट थी, उसके बावजूद भी टनीशा को उसने इन्वॉल्व रखा अपने साथ। 3-4 महीने उसको यूज़ किया। बस मैं इतना कहना चाह रही हूँ कि इसको सज़ा मिलनी चाहिए, शीज़ान को नहीं छोड़ना। मेरा बच्चा गया है।
उसने सिर्फ इतना बोला, मैं भी था, उसकी मम्मी भी थी, डॉक्टर भी रहे कि मेरे साथ चीटिंग हुई है, मेरे साथ गलत हुआ है, वो ऐसा कैसे कर सकता है, ये सब बोल रही थी। वो बार बार रिपीट कर रही थी एक ही बात को। बस तभी पता चला कि कुछ प्रॉब्लम चल रही है शेज़ान के और उसके बीच में।
Now, when I say death by suicide is really plaguing the Indian television industry, probably even the film industry, we have data to support it. We have some very, very important figures, very known faces who have allegedly chosen to die by suicide. Let's take a look at what we are talking about. The first one that we have for you is, of course, Sushant Singh Rajput. His fans have yet not been able to come to terms with the actor's death, and we all know how this sent shockwaves across all of 34, and he chose to allegedly die by suicide. Then there is Vaishali Thakkar. She has been part of very, very important shows like Ye Rishta Kya Kehlata Hai, Sasural Simar Ka, very, very popular shows. She in fact died by suicide, in fact also left a suicide note that read that her boyfriend was harassing her. That's another story. Kushal Punjabi, 42-year-old, found hanging in his apartment at his Mumbai home, allegedly was suffering from depression. That's how bad it was. Sejal Sharma, 25-year-old, she was found dead in her flat in Mumbai. Another case of death by suicide. Asif Basra, who doesn't know about him, 53-year-old actor who was last seen in the web series The Family Man 2. He also had hanged himself in his Dharamshala residence. Jia Khan, of course, another high-profile case, 25-year-old. She was in fact found hanging at her apartment, and her then boyfriend Suraj Pancholi was also accused of abetment to suicide. Now, as we talk about abetment to suicide, after Tunisha Sharma allegedly killed herself on the sets of her television show on Saturday, her co-star Sheezan Khan has been booked for abetment to suicide. Now, according to the FIR, based on the statement of Sharma's mother, the two actors were in a relationship and had broken up just 15 days back. Sharma, in fact, was said to have been very upset about this breakup, and Khan has now been arrested. So what exactly is abetment of suicide under the law? And how does a court determine if a person is guilty of it or not? Let's take a look at that first. Now, we're talking about abetment to suicide, what the law says. Now, a person who tries to instigate someone to go ahead and die by suicide, he is the person who is the abettor. Not just that, if somebody goes ahead and assists or engages in a conspiracy to commit this offense, is also an abettor. So he can be accused under this. It is punishable under Section 306 of the Indian Penal Code, and it is an offense which is cognizable, non-bailable and non-compoundable. So cognizable, it doesn't require any warrant by the court before that person is arrested. Also, this is non-compoundable. Even if the parties choose to go ahead and withdraw the case, they're not allowed to do that once a person is booked under abetment to suicide. That's how big this is. It is also punishable up to 10 years or a fine or both. The fine, of course, is given to the kin of the victim in this case. There are two primary ingredients of this particular crime. If we are talking about how does the court determine whether it is abetment to suicide case or not, the first one, of course, is to go ahead and ascertain that this is a death by suicide. It's a suicidal death that we are talking about. The second, of course, is the intent of the accused to abet that suicide, whether there was body language or something that led to that person who was drawn or pushed to dying by suicide. The statement uttered in haste wouldn't amount to abetment. This is a very important point. If somebody goes and says, go die, or says something in anger, cannot be considered abetment to suicide. The court further looks at this entire process or whether there was a controlled harassment of the accused in this case, because of which a certain person chose to die by suicide. Only then it is treated as abetment to suicide. Let me now open this debate that we are having today, an important one, to our guests who are joining us. Mohit Abrol and Athar Siddiqui, both actors, also working with Tunisha on the sets of that very television show that where she chose to die by suicide. They are joining us. Dr. Nisha Khanna, who is a clinical psychologist, is also with us on the broadcast. And also with us is Dr. Vikram Singh, who is a former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. Athar, let me begin with you. We were talking about how exceedingly competitive does this industry go on to become? And Mohit, this question is also for you. Since both of you knew Tunisha, did you actually see her suffering?
Actually, I've worked with her. On set, she was very friendly, very cheerful girl. While working with her, it's like a positive environment, always. Whether you are tense, you are stressed out, or you are having some kind of a work pressure. But talking to her and seeing her smiling is like everything is just vanished. She was a very positive person. Her smile is like, it does wonders. So I enjoyed working with her. On every scene, it was like working with her is just such a smooth kind of a thing. So I have never seen her getting depressed or in some sort of a trouble, some kind of issue going on with her. I can never imagine that. I have mostly seen her, you can say, smiling and all.
Why I went to go on and ask that question is because there are, as per reports, there are some statements that have just about come out, and they are attributed to Sheezan. And Sheezan, in fact, has reported to have said that Tunisha probably also attempted to die by suicide a few days earlier, and he was the one who stopped her. Did we know anything about it since you guys were working together on that show?
I don't have any idea about this. Or
okay, Mohit?
I last visited the set 10 days back, so my track was on and off.
Okay, Mohit?
So
any idea?
The time when I had visited the set,
okay.
See, I never heard about anything like this, but I heard that she was taken to a hospital few days back. But that was kind of an anxiety attack she had or something. So that's the only news that came from the set to me.
So are you talking about this being a news, or did you guys know about it? That there was an anxiety attack?
To know it from, no, I got it. I got to know it from the set itself. Like I wasn't there, but my friend called up and told me that she had an anxiety attack and she was taken to the hospital. And the rest, like about her, she I've never seen her depressed on the set. And she was always a happy soul. Yeah. She used to have fun. She used to like play around. She used to come to my room. She used to call me Paji, and we used to listen to Punjabi songs. We had a Punjabi connection, me and Tunisha. So I never came across anything which could have, triggered something so big. And even Sheezan and Tunisha were quite normal on the sets. Both of them were like, they used to have their lunch together. They used to be together all the time.
Okay.
Whenever I used to shoot with them, I've never felt anything like this.
Okay.
Like she would go and she would commit something so, such a big thing she'll do, and nobody thought about it. I guess nobody on the set also thought about it, that she will do something like this.
Okay. Athar, why we also talk about this, let's actually talk about these two people, because unfortunately it is about them and unfortunately also about Sheezan. Other than interacting with both of, with each other, did they have friends on the sets? Since you guys, I believe, have joined for the last 4 episodes, you are the new entrants on the show. Did you know anything about that?
No, I'm there from the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So from the launch of the show, I'm there, like from the beginning of the show. But see, we were all very friendly. All of us on the sets, everybody, direction team, us, production, be it the makeup artists, lightmen, spot boys, we all very friendly. So the atmosphere on the set was very friendly. So that's what, surprised me, that she could have spoken about it to anybody, And her mother also lives nearby itself. As in, like, she's not out of Bombay. She doesn't live out of Bombay. She lives in Mira Road itself, which is hardly like 10, 15 kilometers from the set. So it's really surprising what she did.
Okay. So Mohit, while you talk about the mother has put out a very, very emotional statement, also a video statement that we also played out for our viewers. Now, she has gone on to accuse Sheezan of using her daughter. If you talk about the relationship that both Tunisha and Sheezan really shared, because there were some details that the mother also goes on to claim that, Sheezan was probably cheating on her, she could not take it well, and that's why all of this happened. Can you corroborate any of that?
See, nothing, because I used to mind my own business. They were together, that's for sure, right? But anything that's going on between them, anything bad or good, so we never got to know anything about their personal relationship, how their relationship is going ahead. And I think the police is doing the investigation. They'll get to know everything, whatever was going on.
Okay. Doc, let me actually take this opportunity to bring in Dr. Nisha Khanna. Dr. Khanna, thank you so much, first of all, for being a part of this discussion. On the one hand, we are talking about what is leading to certain individuals choosing to take this extreme step. And on the other hand, we are also talking about an extremely competitive industry like the film industry or the Indian television industry. The way you've seen this case play out, what do you think happened here?
I think so. Earlier also I said through your channel that one thing is very clear. You have to understand that if any person is taking a step like suicide, the person has some history. Like in today's conversation, it came out to be that few days before she had some panic or anxiety attack, that she was admitted in a hospital. And you have to understand that major of the problems people are having either due to the career, either due to the relationship. So it plays an important role. And when you have the hardships in your life also, personal life, as the father was not there from the very young age, she had seen the hardships. She's working into the industry. I worked with the celebrities from the different fields, whether it is a sports, whether it is from TV, whether it is from film industry. And when I see their struggle, from the very young age, they started working. They don't take care of themselves. Taking care of themselves about talking about your emotions. And when I think so, one of the co-actor was talking about, she has not cheered up. Yes. Always remember, person who is having depressive traits, isn't having anxiety issues or stress issues or any other problem, you go and share your personal problems to them only, with whom you are comfortable. We all I would say, have a face or a mask wear on our face in a public scenario, whether it is our career, whether it is our social life, whether it is the surroundings people. I don't know, but during the counseling sessions, I sometimes got to know people share those things which they never shared in their career or in their life in last 20, 30 years. Okay. I don't know, people comes up and tell, even it is a celebrity. Like I remember I was dealing with one of some sports team person, and the person was saying it that he doesn't even remember that when he sat down and thought about, I have to celebrate my birthday just the way I want to, because I have some commitment, I have to do this, I have to do that. You have to understand that career itself is having a lot of responsibilities over your shoulder. And I think so, yesterday also talked about the lifestyle. Bombay is a fast-paced city. The Delhi metro cities are fast-paced. So that also plays, the lifestyle also plays an important role. Your own career background, as your industry, the celebrity industry is also, when you are getting work, then there is stress. When you have too much of work, then there is a stress. Another thing, relationships. When any person is into a relationship, I think so, there was one word you chose rightly. I'm choosing to be getting into the person. And I think so, she was crying. If the person was dating with someone else, you should feel lucky that before getting serious or going ahead, I knew about that person is cheating me. I think so. I think so. If she was so accomplished, why not she thought of that? If this person is rejecting me, I should have another choices.
Okay.
I am such at that level.
So I'll actually post those very questions to both Mohit and Athar, because both of them have been her co-stars, but there must be something about the atmosphere on the set. So maybe it's a thing about the industry that she did not choose to probably delve into, or probably was not as comfortable to share with her co-stars, other than a few people who she might be calling her friends. But let me first bring in Dr. Vikram Singh over here. Dr. Singh, there were certain instances that I put out for the viewers when it comes to dying by suicide, and in the cases of celebs. There were many cases from the Indian television industry where it is a similar trajectory. We're talking about, let's say, one person who has died by suicide, left a suicide note claiming harassment by her boyfriend. In the very high-profile death of Pratyusha Banerjee, who became a household name because of Balika Vadhu, there was the family going ahead and alleging that it was because of a boyfriend that she killed herself. So this is a very similar situation. Why are we excluding this particular case and then, let's say, pointing our guns only at Sheezan? What is going on here?
It is extremely unfair to point guns at this stage at anyone when the investigation is in progress and at a very, very premature stage. It is only the investigation which will reveal what the real facts are, and it is not in anybody's interest to level allegations, and wild allegations at that. Investigation is both an art and a science. It will incorporate all the ingredients of what transpired between Sheezan and the deceased in the last 48 hours, both on WhatsApp, messages, Instagram, other communication systems, and also the calls that were missed, that were made or received by the deceased. This is a matter of investigation. Then what the deceased disclosed to her doctor, as also to her parents, her mother, her uncle, her co-workers, that of course is a very important aspect of investigation. During the course of the program, you mentioned the ingredients of section 306 of the IPC, and this is exactly what is relevant during the course. Allegations do not matter. Unsubstantiated vile allegations serve no purpose. They are not even worth the piece of paper on which they are written. And obviously, if Sheezan says that she attempted to harm herself once, it is a medical legal case, did he report to the police or he did not? If he did not, again, it's a serious matter and a cause of concern for Sheezan again. Why did he not report the case? Because it is something medical legal. He was duty bound to report and lodge an FIR. And if he did not, well, he has to explain to the police why he did not. Because then he should have given to the doctors, he should have told the parents, and those who were the conscience keepers of the deceased, they had a right to know and a need to know what is going behind the eyeballs of the deceased. Obviously, as Dr. Nishaji has mentioned, that we need to have the shock absorbers and the work-life balance in any case has gone for a toss.
You know, Dr. Singh, while you mentioned that point, all these reports that are coming out, they are obviously being leaked to the media, because I have also attributed to probably Sheezan saying that she probably tried to attempt suicide. But all of this, we do not know where are they being revealed to the media from, probably from the investigation or the initial statements that he's made to the police, who knows. You know, don't you think that there needs to be that broad stroking needs to be stopped, and the police also need to be responsible in the kind of information that they're putting out there in public domain?
Well said. Investigation is as sacred as the judicial trial itself, and the police have to disclose only things that need to be disclosed and people have a right to know. All this hullabaloo and the circus going around, wild allegations, as many mouths and as there are views, was best avoided. And it does cloud the judgment not only of the investigators, of the public, and I dare say those who would be deciding the issue also. Let the police only come out. You very rightly said, this deliberate, partial leakage by the investigators is just not called for.
Okay, let me bring Mohit back. Mohit, since you have been associated with the show from the very beginning, let me actually bring our viewers' attention to this interview that Tunisha really had given to one of the news portals, where she had said, and I'm quoting her out, "I was suffering from anxiety issues and feeling low even before Internet Wala Love started." She's talking about one of her shows. "I was being in fact, she talks about the very point that Dr. Khanna has made. I've been working since a young age. I lost my father at a very early age. She goes on to talk about many other people who she lost at the early age. My schedules turned erratic. I had to consult a doctor. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And then she goes on to say, once she decided to put it out on social media, she was, rather than being acknowledged the fact that she is being brave enough talking about her insecurities and talking about her anxiety issues, she was trolled by a lot of fans who were probably, who had sworn their allegiance to the other actor who she chose to replace on the show. You know, does it happen to people from the industry? And considering she was very vocal about this fact that she had anxiety issues and she was suffering, she was depressed, why did no one from the sets, for that matter, feel the need to just reach out to her and say, are you okay? Are you doing fine?
Yeah, I think as an actor, we always judged. All right. So even if we are like, even if we talk about depression or any mental kind of a disease, even in like normal, world, even if you talk to your friends, most of the people will end up judging you, So I think it's really difficult for a person to come up and talk about these issues. But she has been so vocal about it, as you said, like she has spoken about it in the interview. So I guess I've no clue. That's why we all surprised that why did it happen? She could have spoken to anybody on the set. Like as I told you, we were all very friendly on the sets. Everybody, we were a good team, all right. So we used to have fun. We used to talk together. We used to laugh together. We used to be like dance together on the sets. So it's a mystery to me as like why did she even do it, and that also in the room as like the makeup room of Sheezan itself.
Okay, and Athar, the fact that so much
And
is
she was
being
too
said
young.
about, yes, of course, she
She
was
was
very
only
young,
20.
only 20 years, only 20 years.
Maybe it's difficult at that age to handle pressure. She's a teenager. So it's I don't think as like if in my age, like I'm 33 right now, so at my age I have some maturity. I can handle things on my own. But maybe when you're young, it's very difficult to handle these pressures of the industry, like you said, and relationship pressures. So that if it's like a khichdi of too many things. So maybe it's difficult to handle those things. Yeah.
And Athar, the way you see Sheezan's name that has been brought into the discourse, do you think it's fair?
Too early to say anything because I don't know Sheezan personally. It's just a hi, hello kind of a stuff with Sheezan on the set. So whatever is happening with Sheezan right now, I think police is investigating everything. It's their job to do that, and they are doing it perfectly. So whatever things are coming out, it's been shown to everybody. So I'm nobody to say anything about this.
Okay,
because
let me actually bring in Dr. Khanna for one last word. Dr. Khanna, here we're talking about an actor who has decided to die by suicide. She's no longer with us. All of 20, the point that Mohit also was making. However, when we talk about her co-star, another actor who has been accused for abetment to suicide, there is so much that is being said out in the open, in the public. There are his family members that need to be looked at. If in these circumstances, if worst comes to fore, he decides to go ahead and take an extreme step, who's responsible for his mental health? Who's responsible for that?
I think so. If you will ask me, I would say we all are responsible. We can say it is a collective decision. It's the family, it's the person, it's the partner, it's the surroundings, because we are so negligent about the mental health. We take this world so literally, and I think so Corona is the times when we started talking about mental health more openly. I think so we have to take it as a collective society step. It is the industry has to take the responsibility, whether it is a young age or I would say there was a person like Sushant Singh Rajput. He was so successful also. He was not in his 20s. You can't blame that it is the age, definitely. In the younger age, you are not that much mature. But because of the relationship, lots of people take their lives. I would say a list of clinics you see, the teenagers comes for relationship problems, family problems, career. These are three are the main parameters why people think either the financial issues, depression is very common.
Absolutely.
And or anxiety is very common. And another
Absolutely,
thing
and
when
it
I'm
needs to be
saying it
taken
may
very,
be
very
depression.
seriously.
Yeah.
We cannot be voyeurs at somebody's death, something that I said at the introduction of this very debate that I chose to have. Very important. We are talking about somebody who's lost her life, and we are playing field trying to accuse someone or the other. We have to also realize that if something bad were to happen to this boy, who's responsible is also the big question that we need to ask ourselves. We leave it at that. I'm really sorry, Dr. Singh and Mohit, I'm really sorry. I'm out of time. However, I appreciate you all joining us on this important debate. We leave it at that, slipping into a very, very short break and coming right back on News Epicenter.
That is where you is that Shivani?
Yes, that is me. I'm saying, why do you want this guarantee from Rahul Gandhi? We are a diverse country. He's allowed to have his view from on Savarkar. You counter that view.
No, that is where they get people like Pandey get their inspiration from. They think that it is their birthright to divide freedom fighters between our freedom fighters and their freedom fighters, and this divide is not healthy. Let me tell you. Let me make a more important point over here. What is the core of these statements coming from Congress leaders? They think the freedom movement was the personal fiefdom of the Congress party. No, it was not. Freedom movement in this country has been going on from the 1780s. Tilka Majhi, a tribal freedom fighter, was the first freedom fighter. There were hordes and scores of freedom fighters throughout the early part of the 19th century when the Congress was not even born. So the Congress needs to get it clear that we have never claimed ownership over freedom fighters, and neither should the Congress party. They should respect the sentiment with which each person fought for the freedom of the country. That's the most important point. And since he has raised questions about Vajpayee ji, let me ask the Congress party today, have they ever stood for the revolutionaries, even for Subhash Chandra Bose, who at one point of time was very much a part of their own party? Have they ever stood for Chandrasekhar Azad? Have they ever stood for Shahid Bhagat Singh? So they don't have any right to give certificates of participation to other people, and that is the more important point over here.
Okay. Kailash Adhikari, the issue here also is that if this was a personal opinion that in no way contradicted the party line or embarrassed the party line, which the Congress seems to be suggesting that, there is no need to pay attention to it, then why did Gaurav Pandey delete his tweet? Do you think that there's mens rea associated with that? He ended up embarrassing the party?
Absolutely, Shivani, he did. And the Congress of late, in its quest to counter the Bharatiya Janata Party, is blurring all lines of decency. I mean, they are bereft of morality, and this comes right from the top. Your newly anointed president of the Congress party, the way in public rallies, even in off and on parliament, the way he has addressed to the Honorable Prime Minister, we have all seen and we have debated about it. So this has now become, the culture of the Congress party, and they are now becoming a habitual offender. In the beginning, Shivani, you said that, he's not a nobody, but I would, with all usually due respect, Mr. Pandey, I mean, we are too all small to talk about late Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. He's a statesman. And this is not what I am saying. I mean, the world knows about it. I mean, we can all talk about what kind of a person and what contributions late Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji had for India. He had India in his veins, but I feel I'm too small, to talk about him. And what ground does Mr. Pandey have, or who is he? I'd like to say this very blatantly, to even comment on for about late Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji.
Has Gaurav Pandey's tweet, especially after the announcement that Rahul Gandhi will be paying tribute to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, which he eventually did, ended up embarrassing the Congress party?
Yes, Shivani, in a way. But let's not forget that what the leadership says, or the top leadership says, that stands. I mean, we have so many reckless statements by Giriraj Singh or several others. But what Prime Minister Modi says, what Mr. Amit Shah says, that that stands, that articulates the government position on many contentious issues. So that is it. I think Congress has always been very curious about Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But Shivani, I want to say that this attempt by Rahul Gandhi to visit at Samadhi is laced with some kind of politics or politicking. He is trying to make a distinction between Vajpayee-led BJP and Narendra Modi-led BJP, and perhaps with an eye on future. I mean, we journalists tend to speculate a lot, and that's what I'm doing. but he is looking at 2024 scenario as well.
Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll discuss that a little bit more on the very move of visiting Atal Bihari Vajpayee's Samadhi, because this can be seen as a departure for the Congress bigwigs.
Welcome back. We are putting out another important question on News Epicenter tonight. This one is about the controversial way China is handling COVID-19. And is that going to lead to a possible global mayhem? Now, why do we say that? As you know, reports of China continuing to give a rather inaccurate picture of the real crisis in the country are only growing. And the World Health Organization is very concerned about the evolving situation there. What has happened now is that amidst the COVID outbreak in China, Chinese activist Jennifer Zeng has tweeted out a few videos that reveal to the world what can be termed nothing short of a COVID horror in the country. Morgues overwhelmed due to mounting number of dead bodies, China's Zhejiang battling around 1 million new daily COVID-19 infections, a number expected only to double in the days ahead, and the National Health Commission stopping reporting asymptomatic infections, making it even harder to track cases. All this shows how China is finding it extremely difficult to contain the massive surge in coronavirus cases, and to top it, it has now decided to stop publishing daily COVID-19 figures altogether. No reasons given. Chinese President Xi Jinping, however, has now urged officials to take steps to protect lives in his first public remarks on COVID-19 since Beijing dramatically loosened the hardline containment measures this month.
你看看吧，老同学的，你瞅瞅，这叫啥？
This is just one of China's crematoriums.
全是啊，看着。
Everywhere you look, there is another body waiting to be cremated.
这他妈都不叫玩意了，这家伙。
Outside the crematorium are long queues of grieving families with photographs of their deceased. Some have been waiting for days to lay their loved ones to rest. Smoke is constantly billowing from the furnaces as body bags pile up. Visuals of despair are also being witnessed in hospitals as well. Intensive care units are turning away ambulances. Relatives of patients are searching for empty beds. Patients are lying on floors in hospital corridors. Even some of the top hospitals in Beijing have run out of beds and oxygen tanks. What's clear is that COVID-19 is wreaking havoc in the country all over again. According to reports, China is likely to be reporting 37 million cases every single day. 248 million people in China were likely to have been infected in the first 20 days of December. 5,000 people may be dying daily in China in what could be the largest outbreak the world has ever seen. But Xi Jinping is continuing to play hide and seek, just as he has done for the last 3 years. From not revealing the truth about the origin of the virus to concealing the real number of cases, and now deciding not to publish daily COVID death data. It's been smoke and mirrors right from day one. So is it time for the World Health Organization to hold Xi Jinping accountable?
Joining us on the broadcast tonight is Jennifer Zeng, who is the Chinese whistleblower who raised these very concerns in the first place. She's also a human rights activist. Jennifer, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Now, you flagged out some major concerns regarding COVID cases from China. Could you please explain to our viewers what are those?
I think the main concern, as we are saying now, is the high fatality rate and the high infection rate, and whether what is really going on in China, whether it's really Omicron or something else, or just as some experts say, it's a combination of different variants. So what we see are very, very concerning situation. Like in Beijing, all the crematoriums are operating 24/7, but still cannot handle the bodies. And I even see a post saying that they are now using industrial cold storage warehouse that for meat, for pigs, to store human bodies. And at a warehouse in Yuquanying in Beijing, 15,000 bodies are currently stored in that warehouse in Beijing. And we are starting to see similar videos showing like hospitals and crematoriums overwhelmed by bodies from all parts of China, including to the northeast, like Changchun City. I shared one video yesterday, and to the south or western south, like from Chongqing City and from other smaller places. And I even share a video, I think, from the countryside where you can see that people are not lining up in their cars like the big cities. People are using all sorts of, scratchers or some kind of other non-car sort of cutter or whatever method they can use to move the body. There was a long line, so that must happen from the countryside somewhere because people don't have cars. So that is very concerning that many people are dying, and how the virus will be mutate from there, and will that be affect the entire world again? So that is the very concerning thing.
Now, Jennifer, you've also flagged off lists of celebrities in China who are in fact sick. Also, I'm afraid they're dying. Their deaths might be difficult to hide considering they are celebrities. How much do you know about this?
No, I'm talking about the long list of celebrities. A lot of them, I think, have already retired and are relatively of old age. Of course, there are also younger ones, like the youngest in that list is only 39 years old. So the reason I'm listing that is because their death are much harder to hide. People know about their deaths because they are celebrities. So my point is, if there are so many celebrities and that is an incomplete list dying recently, and how many more ordinary Chinese are dying, if we can, that celebrity list just can give us an idea of how many people are dying. I think celebrities, they usually have better, I think, medical condition and medical conditions and better protections to protect themselves. And if they are sick, I believe they have better conditions to get better medical treatment. And also I shared this morning, and in December alone, there are 15 academies. They are very high level of, they are the academies of the Chinese Academy of Science and and engineering. So that's the top scientists of China. In December alone, 15 of them died. So this is just give people a rough idea of how high the death toll is in China, because celebrities, their deaths are easier to learn about, and for ordinary people, like I said, 15,000 bodies stored in the Yuquanying cold storage warehouse, but we don't know who they are.
So you are saying that celeb fatalities, the number hasn't been made public? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think, actually, like I shared the news before, they state the Chinese National Health Commission has already stopped releasing any information regarding the COVID-19. And this morning, they just announced from January 8th of next year, they were, downgrade the COVID to category B. So initially, the COVID was regarded as a category A disease and in China. So that is, to be controlled or prevent at the highest level because it was very dangerous. Now they've just downgraded the COVID to moved it to category B. So if in theory, if a disease is in category B, you don't have to monitor it or to control it to impose lockdown. So they've just done that. They are not only they are not releasing numbers anymore, they are downgrade the category of COVID. So I think that is very irresponsible and also dangerous.
Also, Jennifer, Chinese President Xi Jinping today urged the officials to take steps to protect lives. And this was his first ever public remark on COVID-19 since Beijing dramatically loosened the zero COVID this month. So what do you make of these statements?
I think actually the reason why Xi Jinping had been imposing the most inhumane lockdowns was also, he claimed, we are responsible. We are the most responsible government in the world. That's why we have to impose this strict lockdown, because we are responsible to human beings' life, and because other countries, they are not responsible. So we are doing this. Now he's talking about being responsible again. I think that is the most irresponsible measure any government or any regime can take in this whole world. But the fact that he's responding to it also, I think, indicates now he felt the pressure, because the whole world, the fact that so many people are dying can hardly be hidden from the whole world. So he must have got some response or pressure from the international world, or maybe from his own, other factions within the party, also from all sorts of, aspects. That's why he is responding. But talking about being responsible is the most ridiculous thing we can ever hear.
Also talking about Zhejiang, Jennifer, this is a big industrial province that we are talking about. Now that alone is battling around 1 million new daily COVID-19 infections, and the number is only expected to double in the days to come. How bad are the COVID numbers really looking that are coming out of China?
I think I actually talked about leaked internal meeting notes. So as of December 20th, from December 1st to December 20th, the total infection number in entire China is 448 million people. So that was just like in 3 weeks' time. Now we are several days after that. We know how fast the Omicron is spreading, so we can, I think, reasonably believe that number have already been doubled since the 20th of December. And according to, people share social media posts of them, many people are saying almost all the people they know around them or in their own circle, either everybody has already been infected, or 60 to 70% of the people they know were infected. And there was one CCP official, I think, in the discipline inspection department saying something. Out of 19 co-workers in his department, 17 of them have already been infected. So the infection number must be huge and huge, hundreds and hundreds of millions.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much for that update. Very, very important one that's coming in from China. I'd like to thank you for joining me. Let me now open this to my guests who are joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Rajiv Jayadevan, who's a chairperson, National Indian Medical Association and also a member of the COVID Task Force, is with us. And also joining us is Dr. Rajiv Dasgupta, National AEFI Committee member. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. We just heard what Jennifer Zeng mentioned, the reports that are coming out of China. Mr. Jayadevan, what do you make of the situation? Because only as we speak, we are talking about one person who traveled from China, came into India and also was tested and turned out to be COVID positive. If we do not curb the kind of flights that are coming out of China and that travel advisory is not made stricter, we'd have many such cases coming in.
Those are good questions, but let me first explain what is happening in China, the first part of your question. It's like a dam that was holding a very large amount of water and the floodgates have just opened. Now, if you evacuate the people from the villages downstream ahead of time, yes, we can prevent human casualties. But in COVID language, evacuation is equivalent to vaccination. That is, if you vaccinate all the people ahead of opening the dam or opening the floodgates, yes, you can minimize casualties. But unfortunately, that did not happen, especially in the low-lying areas. That is, the people who are elderly. There are about 1 crore people. That is 10 million people over the age of 80 who are profoundly vulnerable for lack of having taken the vaccine. So that's a tragedy that is waiting to happen. And in that context, many people, I've heard them say that Omicron is mild, it's a common cold. That is not true. Omicron is as severe or nearly as severe as the original variant. Agreed that it's about 67% less severe than Delta. The difference is if it spreads in a vaccinated population, yes, it is much less severe than the original strain. Now let's turn to China. Omicron, the same virus, is spreading in a relatively unvaccinated population. I'm talking about the older segment. Now, I think the stories that were shown here clearly correlate with what we could expect if that were to happen. That, I believe, is what is happening in China.
Yeah. So, Dr. Dasgupta, thank you so much, Mr. Jayadevan, for, beautifully breaking it down for our viewers. And that's exactly what we have been talking about for quite some time now, considering we're looking at a possible increase, unfortunately, in cases here back home. Another question that comes to fore is, should the government go ahead and wait for, let's say, the New Year celebrations to begin? Only then should the restrictions kick in? Or do we not need restrictions despite the kind of stories that are emerging from China?
Thank you. It depends what one understands as restrictions. If it is, for example, about incoming travel, air traffic or sea traffic, there is no scope or room at all for such restrictions, because that's pointless. A, because it wouldn't stop the infections, and B, a lot of infection has already spread from China all around the world, just as it happened.
No, but Dr. Dasgupta, why do you say that? I mean, I just mentioned about a case about a person who was traveling from China. He was tested. He turned out to be COVID positive. Now his sample has been sent for genome sequencing. Don't you think this entire process we can actually do away with if the flights are stopped? Or do you think it cannot be done now that we've learned to live with it?
No, there are at least three things. One, travel restrictions have not stopped import of COVID into any of the countries worldwide. We have about 3 years of experience of that. Second, India, of course, is an immunologically completely different population from China, which is a lot immunologically naive, as Dr. Jayadevan very lucidly explained. And third, there is always going to be cases detected who are coming in from China. The international travelers can and should certainly be screened, and they should be quarantined and treated, and most of them, I believe, would recover uneventfully. There is no room for restricting travel, certainly.
Okay. Mr. Jayadevan, do you agree? And do you think this random testing of passengers at the, let's say, the IGI airport or various other international airports in the country, do you think 2% of those passengers being tested, do you think that works?
Yes, I believe it will work. It's impossible to test all passengers because airports will be completely blocked, and you know that very well. So that's one. Second is, if you saw today's Hindu, Vinod Skaria and Benny Jolie have written about the incredibly low number of sequences that are available from China. In other words, for our viewers, I'll say this: there is something called the GISET database, which is globally accessible for any user. We can all access all the genomes that are uploaded onto the server. So, if you want to see the genomes that are circulating in France, it's easy for anyone to do that. Now, the number of genomes, for some reason, that are uploaded from China are so low. It's only 30 sequences since October. That's almost close to zero for a country that size. So the point I'm making is, we simply do not know enough about the genomic profile of the variants that are circulating there. We're assuming it is Omicron. We know the old story about assuming. You might get it wrong. So it's always a good thing to go the extra mile and screen passengers and send them directly for genomic sequencing. It is not the passengers themselves are not dangerous as travelers. As Dr. Dasgupta said, restricting air travel has never, ever proved to be of
what
any
about
value.
vaccination now? How does the precaution dose help, and how does one go ahead and encourage people to, despite having taken both the doses of the vaccine, they should actually go and take their precaution doses as well?
Yes, we must remember that India is about 10 months past the last major wave. Now, that's a long period of time. And we are facing holidays, we are facing travel, it's winter conditions, people are going to gather indoors, the schools are out. So this might be the perfect setting for another wave to happen. Nobody can predict when a wave will happen. But when the perfect settings for a storm happens, a storm will happen. So likewise, if we are anticipating a wave with most likely a more immune evasive variant, or let's say hypothetically a brand new variant, the vulnerable individuals should go the extra mile and get themselves a precautionary dose.
Okay, so Dr. Dasgupta, one final word. Would you still induce people to go ahead and ramp up testing, or do you think that will incur a lot of fear among people and they should just be treated as a common cold? Should we still be on that statement, or there should be more testing that needs to be done?
There ought to be more testing that needs to be done. As almost worldwide, testing in India has sharply fallen. What has also reduced in India, what we often don't take into account, is that the number of vaccination centers have also drastically declined. So ramping up vaccination would also mean getting back to somewhere closer to the original number of centers. And finally, to facilitate all of these, both vaccination as well as testing, we really need to reinvent our crisis communication, because what the communication strategies were 3 years ago, even 1 year ago, is not really appropriate now.
All right. Dr. Dasgupta and Mr. Jayadevan, thank you so much for joining us for this very important chat. I'd like to thank you both for being a part of this conversation. And before I end this broadcast this evening, let's talk about the monstrous Arctic storm that has gripped most of the continental US over the Christmas holiday, and it has left more than 30 people dead. These freezing temperatures trailing across the nation have wreaked havoc in many parts of the country as well as Canada, and about 60% of the US population is facing the weather warning, and the temperatures have dropped sharply. Take a look at this report.
An ongoing winter storm has brought freezing temperatures, blizzard conditions, flooding, and power outages to millions of Americans this Christmas. At least 26 people have died from storm-related incidents across the U.S., with the latest fatalities reported in New York.
I don't want to say that this is going to be it, because it would be fallacy for me to say that, because we know there are people who've been stuck in cars for more than 2 days, and there are people in homes that are below freezing now temperatures.
By Sunday morning, more than 55 million people were under wind chill alerts and freeze warnings across the South. In New York City, it was the second coldest Christmas Eve in 150 years, according to the National Weather Service.
This is a war with Mother Nature, and she has been hitting us with everything she has since the late hours of Thursday into Friday, Saturday, and now on Christmas morning. And this will go down in history as the most devastating storm
Meanwhile, several busloads of migrants were dropped off in Washington, D.C. late Saturday night in front of Vice President Kamala Harris's residence in 18-degree weather. One organization, which has been receiving migrants sent to D.C. since the spring, was prepared for their arrival.
These buses were actually initially intended to go to New York and then shifted to DC because of the weather. So for many people, you know, the free ride to get them closer to their final destination is actually a really important service.
Also this Christmas, thousands of Americans are stranded at U.S. airports due to the winter weather. By Sunday morning, more than 1,600 flights had been canceled, according to FlightAware.
Opinion, why did he have to go ahead and delete it? And secondly, when you say you are sure he has been reprimanded, what does that mean? Surely that action has to be seen as well.
Absolutely. See, it is like this. Today, Pragya Thakur in Karnataka says, you know, you should keep knives and whatnots in your houses so that you can behead people. Does that mean the BJP leadership accepts that? Is it the leadership? Is it the BJP party stand?
No, I'm asking you. Does the Congress leadership accept the statement that Gaurav Pandey has made or disapprove of it?
Absolutely not. If we had accepted that statement, you wouldn't have seen our leader at Vajpayee's resting place, would you?
Then why not act against Gaurav Pandey? That's the question I'm asking. Since Gaurav Pandey...
You see them there.
Okay, but fair enough. Lavanya, I have a pointed question. I have a pointed question for you.
Is it because they are okay with Sabri?
Lavanya, I have a pointed question. I'm not going to indulge in whataboutery because, you know, I don't think that helps the debate. No, I'm not interested in comparisons right now. First, I want to get a clarification. Lavanya, first I want to get a clear response from you. You are saying the Congress party does not approve of the stand that Gaurav Pandey has taken. Given his proximity to the new Congress chief's office, why is it that the Congress party is not reprimanding him in public? Isn't that the message that the Congress party would like to send out?
Absolutely. You know, that's a very good question. The same question applies to BJP as well. Why doesn't it reprimand?
You are the party that is talking about love. You are the party whose former Congress chief has gone to Atal Bihari Vajpayee's Samadhi today. I don't know whether what BJP does explains what the Congress party's response is or should be. You don't compare yourself to the BJP, right? You believe that the BJP is playing politics of hate. You are playing politics of love. I have a very simple question for you. If you disapprove of what Gaurav Pandey has said about the former Prime Minister, why not take action against him that can be seen by the public? Why is the Congress party, feeling so squirmish about it?
Okay, why do you need to see an action taken against a party worker?
Because that sets the precedent.
How many times do you see that happening across different parties?
Because that sets the precedent, and that tells you what the party's line is. That sets a precedent.
Sorry?
I'm saying the action is required or asked for because that sets the precedent. That tells you categorically what the party believes in.
See, I appreciate that you have such high hopes from the Congress. I also appreciate the fact, I understand the fact that you have zero hopes about the same action from the BJP.
I'm not discussing the BJP today. I'm not going to mix issues. And I'm not going to give you an alibi on the shoulder of the BJP when you claim you're better than the BJP.
We are very clear. We respect Vajpayee. We differ with him ideologically, but we have huge respect for Vajpayee as a person. And that is exactly why you see all our senior leadership, including Kharge, paying respects to Vajpayee.
Okay,
that is the party stand.
Tuhin Sinha, Rahul Gandhi has visited Atal Bihari Vajpayee's Samadhi. That should be enough for the BJP.
At this point of time.
What Gaurav Pandey says in a now deleted tweet is not the issue here. The issue here is what Rahul Gandhi is doing and the message that he's sending.
Good evening, Shivani. Good evening to all the viewers. The present-day Congress party has a toxic habit of vilifying and denigrating ad nauseum anybody, any national icon who doesn't subscribe to their ideology. So, where is the crux of the problem? The crux of the problem is Rahul Gandhi setting a certain pattern by repeatedly spreading canards and vilifying Veer Savarkar. And that is where the lesser mortals in the party get inspiration from. So ideally today, apart from just visiting the Samadhi of Vajpayee ji, Rahul Gandhi should give an undertaking to the country that henceforth he will not vilify Savarkar or any other national icon who doesn't belong to the Congress party.
No, why? Rahul Gandhi is allowed to have his view on Savarkar?
Good evening. You're watching CNN News 18 with me, Grihato Siddiqui. We're beginning the top of 11 p.m. with some breaking news that we are getting on the broadcast, and this is to do with the Bharat Jodo Yatras. Congress leader Salman Khurshid